malignant cells that come up in the ovaries. So you have cells that are dividing very rapidly in those tissues that are not supposed to be dividing at that speed. So when that happens and you're unable to suppress that division of the cells, you get cancer. When that rapid division of cells occurs in the ovary, that's where you get ovarian cancer.
We don't know. Many epidemiologic studies have been done over the last 40 to 50 years, and there have been many putative causes and none have been established. The sort of reigning theory that's been in place for the last at least 20 years is called the incessant ovulation theory, or the more times that an ovary undergoes an ovulatory event, which means an egg is produced and then emitted from the ovary, that causes a surface injury.
You tend to ovulate more, and when you're ovulating more, your ovaries are kind of working more, you're producing more cells, and your ovaries are, if there's a lot of activity going on in the ovaries, that can increase the chances of getting those tumor cells. So when you ovulate more, you can, obviously have more potential for ovarian cancer. So
the more often that cycle of injury and repair takes place related to ovulation, there seems to be an epidemiologic link to that in developing ovarian cancer. What we do inside oncology is put virtually all of the human cancers into 4 stages. So ovarian cancer is no different. Stage 1 is a cancer that's confined to the ovary. And stage 2 spreads off the ovary and gets into or onto the fallopian tubes nearby or in the pelvic structures near the ovary. Stage 3 is in the lymph nodes or up in the abdomen, up out of the pelvis, on some of your other internal organs. And stage 4 is when it leaves the abdomen or is inside the liver or is in your chest or can spread to the central nervous system.
I don't believe there's a lifestyle that is involved with ovarian cancer. I did have cancer in my family. It could have been partly hereditary.
Genetics plays probably the biggest role. The causes per se are not really known, but genetics play a huge role. Her mom had breast cancer.
And if you find out, like her mom, her grandmother, her sisters, her aunt, everybody's had either breast or ovarian cancer, you can be pretty sure that they're going to have that mutation.
I went to the doctor for another reason, but I can't remember for sure what that was. But I had been having some pelvic pains on and off, and I didn't think it was anything serious, but I mentioned it to my doctor, and she examined me and everything. Didn't see any problem, but she said asked me if I would mind having a ultrasound, a vaginal ultrasound. And I said, well, if you think I should, I will. And he insisted that I go and have it done, so I did. And that's when they found it. My doctor called me, which, when a doctor calls you, that usually isn't very good news. And it wasn't. She said they had found some masses on my ovaries, and I felt the peace of God all the time. I was not anxious, but I did not realize how serious the disease was. I did not really realize how serious my condition was. But they found I had tumors in both of my ovaries. There was some cancer on my bladder, on the surface of my bladder. So I had surgery, and I was in the hospital for 8 days, counting the surgery. And I could have nothing but ice water, ice chips. 2 or 3 weeks after the surgery, I started treatment, chemo. And I had like it was 6 months, I think, or 6 treatments. I did very well with the chemo. I felt nervous at first. I'd be a little antsy. After 6 months, or 5 months, I finished my chemo in May of 2004, and so it's been, it was over 5 years this last May.
In December of 2004, it is the first time she ever thought there may be something wrong was we were sitting around a dinner table at my grandma's house, and she felt her abdomen, and she said it felt like something was there was like some kind of pressure down there. She felt around, and we were not going to worry about it. But when she really started to worry about it was in January of 2005. That was when she was working. She was a dental hygienist, and she was working, and she was writing something she pressed up against the counter, and she felt there was a lump there. So she felt it, and it felt about the size of a tennis ball. And that was when she went to the doctor. And that was when they took her blood, and she had a cancer cell count of 300, which is extremely high. When they first told her she had ovarian cancer, she was very broken up, but she gave it to us the best way she could. She said, "I'm gonna fight this through, and no matter what, I love you, and I'm always going to love you." So she didn't even think about herself. She thought about us and what that's going to do to us. That was extremely, extremely strong of her. So they did surgery, and that dropped the count down a lot, but it continued to grow. They kept doing cell counts every time she went in for a test, and it would go up and down. So they put her on chemotherapy, and that was tough. And she was on chemotherapy through the winter into the spring, and then she went on to radiation treatment. And in the summer, we thought she would be better, and that was I was going to be a freshman that year. And then around the time we were going back to school, she was diagnosed. Her cell count had gone up, the cancer had mutated, and it was extremely, extremely malicious. So they did chemotherapy again. And that was real tough, because she was always vivacious and lively, and just the life of the party. And seeing her go through that was really tough. And if I get confused at this time, it's please forgive it, because during that time my mind was shot. I was barely sleeping. I couldn't focus in school. It was real tough. It was tough to see her go through that. At Thanksgiving, we had a party, and I just remember, what I remember is that we were taking pictures, and she was pale, and she was getting very, very skinny. She just looked sick, and that's what chemotherapy does. It's real tough. And I remember that we moved in to our new house, the house we're at right now, and we had a Christmas party here, and that would drain the life out of her, just to try and be around us. And I remember it'd be a week before Christmas, she went to hospice, and that was real tough. that's kind of where they, it was like the last straw. It was the last thing they can do. It's a wonderful place, wonderful care they give the patients, but it's all people who have been diagnosed with a terminal illness. So it's tough to hear that news, but it's a good place where they can go. And when she first got there, they gave her a couple months, and that was impressive. We thought, oh, well, she'll have more than that, because she was tough. But then after a couple days, they gave her a couple weeks, a couple more days, and they said any day now. And that was probably the day before Christmas. So Christmas came, and we had Christmas here. It was the first Christmas Mom had not been around. And then 3 days after Christmas is when she passed away. And I can only speak for myself. I know each one of us dealt with it differently, everyone in the family. And that's real tough, because I take a lot after my mom. I try to be like her a lot. But it was tough to see her go through that, and to see her the way she was. So I try not to think about those times. I try to think about the times when she was alive and she was with us and she was the wonderful person she was. So my dad was her best friend since the 10th grade, and they were high school sweethearts. And they were destined to be together forever. So it tore him up inside to see her every day. And it ripped him apart. But the one thing that would make me reach out and say thank you, one thing that really touched me was when they would say, "I'm praying for you," and that always made me feel like there's something working here. And we were blessed very much to have immediate family living close by that would come in and take care of us. So it was really good came out of the evil that was going on.
They sound like a lot of symptoms that people can have from a lot of other things. So people can feel bloated, they can have a change in their abdominal girth, they can have a change in appetite, they can have a change in weight, they can have some shortness of breath, exercise intolerance can go down, or exercise tolerance can go down. And so a lot of those symptoms are things that you can see in people just in general. And so it's hard to figure out who's got an ovarian cancer type of problem and who has a problem related to aging, or a problem related to irritable bowel syndrome, or a problem related to any number of other things.
Would be like pelvic pain, changes in like your urinary habits, like you feel like you're urinating more, or kind of have more, I guess, a pressure sensation of having to urinate more, that kind of thing. Bloating is another one, just feeling, real gassy in the belly. And then they say early satiety, which is feeling full quicker than you normally would, like just not being able to eat as much. And those are very vague things. I mean, everybody gets bloated. Everybody kind of, from time to time has a change in, going to the urinating, going to the restroom. I mean, so that's what's so hard for women is these symptoms are, again, they're very vague symptoms. But they do say if you have those symptoms, they need to be kind of consistent, not just like, oh, I ate Mexican and I felt bloated, I've got ovarian cancer. But if you just every day for, they usually say 2 weeks, you're having bloating, you're not able to eat as much, you're having some pain, and your urinary habits have changed, that maybe you should go to your doctor and be checked for ovarian cancer. So.
Always the American Cancer Society, but the American Cancer Society, their scope are all the human cancers. Specifically for ovarian cancer, there's the Gynecologic Cancer Foundation. There's the Society of Gynecologic Oncology. There's the Ovarian Cancer Research Fund, to name a few.
They're amazing, and their work they did really touched our lives. She lasted longer than they thought at first, and it wouldn't have been possible without that.
Just not to give up, to keep fighting. Follow your doctor, explore.
Make sure you get support. Don't try to go through it alone, and just go get a good doctor. Do what your doctor says, and be healthy, and have the support of your friends and family.
There are many brave patients and many good minds working on it, and I would tell everyone to keep up the fight.